Today we are working Psalm 126. Psalm 126 is one of the Ascension Psalms. By itself, it's often used to have joy replace any and all sorrow. It's used for healing from a miscarriage or also from the death of a child. Today, I want to use Psalm 126 to petition for a miracle. And a miracle simply means to have something in our lives work out in a way that we didn't even think was possible. The way we work Psalm magic is quite simple and very effective. We take the psalm in question and we read it all the way through once without stopping. That's called an incantation. After that incantation, we go through that psalm one verse at a time, digging, searching, and mining for occult meanings. We just do our very best to find the meanings that we can. And it's through this digging and searching that we find those magic seeds, as we call them, and we plant them deeply into the fertile grounds of our minds, where they, in a very real way, take root, grow, blossom forth, and then bear fruit after their kind. And that is exactly what we are going to do together with Psalm 126. When the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion, we were like them that dream. Then was our mouth filled with laughter, and our tongue with singing. Then said they among the heathen, the Lord hath done great things for them. The Lord hath done great things for us, whereof we are glad. Turn again our captivity, O Lord, as the streams in the south. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him. These Ascension Psalms are all very pithy. They are all very brief, and boy, do they pack a big old punch, don't they? Starting out with, when the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion. So let's take it out of the supposed historical events of the Bible and think in terms of captivity of Zion being whatever it is that seems like there's no possible solution. It's the way that the ego mind has our own souls in captivity. And the ego has our souls in captivity because we have not taken control of our minds, and we just agree. We just agree to go along with whatever it is that our ego is suggesting for us. And you know how that works. We all have ideas in our minds that we just can't seem to shake, or we don't even question. Sometimes we just assume the worst, even though that's not necessarily the case. It says, when the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion. That means this isn't the first time that something wonderful has happened for you. Now, who's the Lord? We always need to start out with orienting ourselves toward that. In the Authorized King James Version of the Psalms, the Lord is always the Tetragrammaton, Yud-He-Vav-He. And that is a representative, it is a symbol for us as magicians of the one power of the universe. There's one. There's one source, there's one substance, there's one power in all the universe. If you think of the Star Wars mythos, they call it the Force. It's a very similar concept. So it's not a deity, it's not gendered, it's not a father, it's not a mother, it's pre-gender. And it is the one singular source of all that is. And this source has many names and many qualities. Our success is assured because since there's only one, there's nothing to oppose it. There's nothing to thwart it. There's nothing that could even possibly stand up against it. And since that's the case, when this force is for you, no one can be against you. And this force is for you, because you are an extension of this force. You are not separate from this force. You are the beloved child of this force. When the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion, we were like them that dream. That's what we are. We are all in a dream here. This is not a real world. This is not the will of infinite intelligence that we have these problems that we need to be rescued from, that we need miracles for. But since the infinite intelligence of this universe, this force, what it calls the Lord in the psalm, knows that we are dreaming, knows that we are in distress, wants us, it wills for us to wake up. But we have free will, and the Lord will never do anything against our free will. So we have the freedom to dream as we will, even when we don't realize we're dreaming, even though we allow ourselves to be captivated by this ego mind. That is our right. But when we decide we don't want to do that anymore, we want to gently awaken from this dream, then the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion, and we are like them who dream. Then was our mouth filled with laughter and our tongue with singing. So you can imagine how you laugh for joy and you sing for joy when this problem gets resolved in an easy way, in a way that you never even thought possible. Just imagine you laughing and singing for joy at how easy that was and how all is well. Then said they among the heathen, the Lord hath done great things for them. Now in the Psalms, in Psalm magic, the heathen represents our thoughts that are errant thoughts, those thoughts that are self-destructive, those thoughts that run amok in our lives, creating problem after problem. When we say among the heathen that the Lord hath done great things for us, we are simply telling our minds and all of those thought forms that are causing these problems, listen, the Lord has done great things for us. This problem is solved and there's nothing you can do about it. The Lord hath done great things for us, whereof we are glad. When we read that one verse, it's teaching us a secret that if we go for the gladness, that accelerates the manifestation of our desire. So we go for the gladness first. And if you are a New Testament reader, you can recognize that any time that magician they called Jesus in that book had any of those wonders worked, what was the first thing he did? Thanked infinite intelligence for already doing it. That was his secret. That was that and saying a bunch of psalms. That's how he did all of those great things. He said a psalm, and then he thanked infinite intelligence that it had already happened, and then it happened. And everybody said, ooh, wonder worker. It's telling you here that you can be a wonder worker. You can be a miracle worker right now by doing the same thing, working with this psalm and thanking infinite intelligence in advance for the outworking of whatever it is that you came to the psalm for. The Lord hath done great things for us, whereof we are glad. You could just put that on a little piece of paper or memorize that, and all through the day today, as whatever the problem is that you need this help from comes up in your mind and you start feeling afraid, you reorient your mind and you say, the Lord hath done great things for us, whereof we are glad. And that stops those heathen thought forms in their tracks. Turn again our captivity, O Lord, as the streams in the south. There have been times in the past when we have come through, and there will be times in the future where we come through things beautifully. And now we're just saying, since it's happened before, and since it will happen again, let it happen now. Let it be done now. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. What a beautiful line. No matter how hard things are, no matter how much you've messed up your thought forms. A lot of times people learn about magic and metaphysics and they say, oh, I'm screwed. I've been so negative my whole life, and I'm so negative all the time, and I can't seem to break out of this habit of thinking yes, now I know how things work, that my thoughts create reality for me, that my thought forms create reality for me, but that makes it even worse because I can't fix my mind. I don't know how to think in the right way. I'm doomed. I wish I didn't know about magic now. I'm doomed. It's saying, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that because infinite intelligence can undo all of the consequences of the sowing in sorrow that you've been up to. That no matter how you've sown, you will reap in joy. Now, infinite intelligence is the only place that you can turn to have that happen, because everywhere else you turn to, cause and effect is based on what you sow is what you will reap. But this is saying that even what you sow that you don't want to reap, that you've done in error, you don't have to worry about it. When you turn to infinite intelligence to take care of it for you, all of your reaping will be done in joy, regardless of the thought forms that you have been planting all this time. That's the miracle. That's why it's a miracle and not magic. There are many times in our lives where we can't seem to control the thought forms, where we don't seem like we can have our magic be anything but a disaster. And that's when we turn to a miraculous intervention, which is what this is, that it doesn't matter how poorly you've done things. It doesn't matter how much of an Aunt Clara you've been with your magic and that you keep messing things up and you keep messing things up. Even if you don't practice magic formally, you do. We all do. All of our thought forms create results for us. When you turn to infinite intelligence and you say, I need help, I need a miracle, infinite intelligence gives you that miracle by doing what? Changing the thought form for you. It's no longer your responsibility. It doesn't matter how poorly you think. Now you're letting infinite intelligence think through you and plant the seeds for you. So regardless of what you've sown, you are now going to be reaping in joy. He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing. Precious seed is all the seeds. Even your negative thought forms are precious seed because that's what you've been given. You've been given the power to sow and reap. You've been given the power to manifest things. So even though you are going and sowing seeds of sorrow and weeping, it's okay because you are understanding that the process can still be used, but by infinite intelligence on your behalf. Please take my sowing and reaping and make it your own. Show me what can be done here instead of what I'm creating for myself. I want you to create for me on my behalf. So it says, he that goeth forth weeping, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him. No matter what you've done, you coming to infinite intelligence and saying, help me, you're going to get a bountiful harvest in whatever way you need it. Whatever is the result that is going to be necessary for you to have a bountiful harvest rather than reaping sorrow is now being done for you, is now being done on your behalf. Now, doesn't that make you feel glad? And if you're not feeling glad, it tells you earlier in the psalm, that's what your secret power is. You go right for the gladness, you go right for the gratitude, and let infinite intelligence take care of the rest. So you just keep coming back to this psalm each and every day until you get a sense that all is well. You'll get a click. You'll get a sense that everything's working out for you. You'll get a peacefulness and a certainty about the situation. When you get that sense, you know that means that the thought forms have been planted and that you don't have to do anything more about this. All is well. And you can just move on to something else. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate you. Until next time, blessed be.